Hello common people, this is Common Guy Reviews and I am your lovely host Pepsi. I have now established that in this channel Friday is the movie review night, that I'd at least try to push out one review a week, every Friday. So it's Friday night my dudes, you movie loving common people, and today's movie is a bit meta. Last week's movie was The Blob from 1958, and if you took the bait and watched it you may have noticed something. When the slime was attacking a movie theater, it had a peculiar movie running in it, Daughter of Horror, and for my surprise this movie actually exists. Daughter of Horror, or Dementia, is a 1955 American black and white experimental horror film produced, written and directed by John Parker. This movie is a psychological horror, delving deep into madness of losing yourself. We follow a young woman named Gaming, who wakes up in a bed. Leading there is an ominous narrator, who speaks about insanities of mind, where only nightmares are real. She ends up walking streets, coming across drunken bums and slimy ones, gets basically pimped out by a complete stranger, sold to some fat bastard and so on. Soon she ends up stabbing the man, who fell out of the window into his death. What follows is just manic episode where the girl does not know where she is, or is anything that has happened even real. It is a surreal piece of media. This happened during Hays Code era too, which made it quite daring to the times. We have to remember that Hays Code started in 1934, which gave guidelines for all the motion pictures released. No profanities, no suggestive nudity, graphic or realistic violence, and so on. Well, this movie had no graphic violence, but it suggested it really heavily. Woman stabbing a man that falls to his death, madness, insanities, all these themes quite nicely dots all the prohibited topics, and doing so became quite experimental as a movie. How can we show something that we have no right to show, type of thing. As suggested by film scholar John Parris Springer, this movie functioned as a critique of violence against women in patriarchal society. Times where a woman's life was often defined by abuse, objectification, sexual threat and violence. She was someone's wife, or a harlot, that could be handled in any way they pleased. This aggressive resistance against this now putting a woman as an angry individual who takes justice to her own hands was not heard of at the times. A woman striking back to her aggressor? Not a thing. It handled this uprising in terms of madness and horror, which also tells you how people would have seen these circumstances at these times. Woman who fought back was put in the veil of horror as a mysterious killer, madness-ridden one, not as a victim who sought some form of justice. In many ways, now that I know, the movie is impressive. Truly a one piece of movie history that you should watch. Now, was it good? Well, it was okay-ish. Narrator was maybe too overly dramatic in his readings, and at some points he even misspelled some words while leading us to a new scene. Otherwise, as a cultural piece, I don't think I wasted that 1 hour that was the runtime of this movie. Sceneries were dark but atmospheric, streets were narrow and kinda eerie with all these drunkards and shady people. There was this one funny scene where Gaming was harassed by the bum, and then police came and whacked the every living part out of this man. Gaming just stood there laughing as the police just mauled this man in the pavement. Also the movie liked to present madness or this demon that haunted her mind as this faceless man in a suit, which was kinda cool. It also showed some background, how Gaming's background was already abusive, his father beating her and abusing her mother, killing her, and then showed how Gaming killed his father. A wheel of misfortune was set in motion. But this was my review about Daughter of Horror, also known as Dementia. I thank you common people for tuning in, and speaking to you now is your lovely host Pepsi, and I'll see you in the next review. Goodbye!